Welcome back to the future best podcast in the world. Not yet. Nowhere near that goal yet. But, you know, like I mentioned in the very first episode, speak it, believe it, become it. I don't know. I follow all that trait.
Speak it, believe it, receive it, like Deontay says.
Speak it. And, yeah, he says that. And then Tunde Ajay says, speak it, believe it, become it, I think, or something like that. Dream it, believe it, become it. That's Anthony Yard's coach. He says that.
Okay.
Let me quickly introduce this week's guest. It's the coolest guy in Los Angeles right now, the freshest guy in LA. It's my man Stephen Carreno, founder of KOARTISTSPORTS, a successful boxing YouTube channel. So tell us, man. First of all, obviously,
what's up, everybody? I just want to say hello. Thank you, FUAD, for having me on, bro. I like your little setup over there, bro. I see the Ruiz Joshua 2 program back there.
We are gonna dive into that. Not yet, but I think that's gonna be like the main focal point of the whole podcast. We met. Really, first time we met was in Saudi Arabia when we were covering the Joshua Ruiz 2 fight. But we knew each other briefly. Never spoke, but yeah, it was good times. But before we go into Saudi, obviously, just introduce you slightly. Explain to us, like, first and foremost, this whole thing. Whenever I have someone on, most of the time it's people who, you know, are somewhat successful on social media, are involved in the social media world one way or another. Explain to us how you came about your YouTube channel, because in my eyes, you know, it's just you graft your backside out when you're at these events. Listen, I've only been at 2 events with this fucker, right? Before the event, we're friends. When we're at the event, he's not even like, his face just changes, his game face, and I respect that. I respect the hustle, because if it wasn't for that hustle, you know, getting 50,000 subscribers on YouTube is actually really hard, if you didn't know. So yeah, tell us how you sort of grew.
Yeah, man. I'll try to kind of condense the story, but I got laid off from the job that I was at. It wasn't like a job I really liked, other than it was 7 minutes door to door from my house. So like I could come home for lunch and you know, take a nap on my couch and all that. But I got laid off from that job, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do, really. I had a girlfriend at the time that was like, well, you can do anything in the world you want right now. Like, you know, what is it? And I've loved boxing forever. And I was like, you know what? Like, at that point, YouTube media kind of was definitely had gained popularity. Definitely by that point, you could tell a lot of people were watching it on there. And I just kind of just started following. I just created my own Instagram. So here's a funny story. I went to Coto Canelo, was the week after I got laid off. And it was during the week. So the press conference, it was like on Tuesday, so I wasn't going to be able to go. And it was open to the public. And so I ended up, because I was not working anymore, I was like, all right, cool, I could go. So my brother and I went, and at that point, I had already kind of, like, when I was as a fan, kind of drunkenly snuck into different things already. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm just going to keep walking until no one tells me anything, or someone tells me something, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so to where I'd even gone to like a Goto press conference in New York, like drunkenly just kind of walked in, you know? Yeah. Okay. And so yeah, man. So like at that point, I kind of had a little idea of the way the setup was and that stuff, and I just told my brother, I was like, hey, let's find out where media is at, and let's get there. And we just asked security, pointed us in the right direction. At that point, it was a lot more lax than it is now. Like, you just had to kind of sign your name on a paper, and you know, you were a media guy. I guess in some ways it's still kind of like that. But I just, you know, I made up my company name right there on the spot. I was already KO Artist on Instagram, and I was like, you know what, I want to cover multiple sports. I'm just going to call my thing KO Artist Sports. And I wrote it down, and then she was like, the woman was like, Canelo's in there and Coto's in there. I was like, cool. And I just walked in, and I was next to Canelo for his questions. Everyone was going crazy for Canelo because he was, you know, he was like everyone knew he was the next big thing, you know. Mm-hmm. And Cotto came in, and we were all talking to him and all that. everyone was asking because we're in LA, right? So there's a heavy Mexican population here.
Yeah.
And just obviously Canelo's Mexican. There's a big, obviously, Mexico-Puerto Rico rivalry, right, in boxing.
Yeah.
So everyone's asking those questions. What's your favorite Puerto Rico versus Mexico fight? Who do you think's win? You know, just all those Puerto Rico-Mexico questions, right? And the room kind of started to dull down. There was a lot of time in between questions. You know how when it gets to kind of that point, everyone's kind of asked everything already. And so, and you could tell he was tired of answering the Puerto Rico-Mexico stuff. And I asked him, I was like, Goto, what's your favorite Mexican food? And he turned around and looked at me like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And the whole room kind of laughed. And he was like, oh, tacos al pastor, like basic pork tacos, right? And
I'm having tacos tonight. They're cooking it downstairs.
Hey.
Won't be anything like, you know, what Steven has at home. But, you know, we're trying out here. We're trying.
Right. No, you got to do what you could do, man. But yeah, so the whole room laughed, and he looked at me, he laughed, and he answered, and people laughed at his answer. And right in that moment, I was like, you know what? Like, I could do this. And just kind of started from there, man. Made my own page, followed fighters, managers, fighters' wives, friends, whoever was going to post, media members, whoever was going to post locations where they were at during media events. So, and I was laid off. I was home not doing anything. So as soon as, you know, I saw a post, oh, someone's at, you know, Boa in Beverly Hills. I went. That's how I got to interview Conor McGregor. Like, wow. I interviewed Conor McGregor right before his fight with Aldo. And, wow. And so,
see, that's straight hustle, right?
Like that, man. Yeah.
That's straight hustle. A lot of people, you know, don't realize that it's not just about, you know, when there's a different hustle when it comes to this side of the game, like YouTube boxing and stuff. Like, look at that, you just straight out went out, followed everyone, and was like alert, ready to fucking like jump on it straight away. And then that's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to, you know, it's not all about just sitting in one place and trying to be hard work. Yeah, let me get this work done. What are you working on? Be creative. How can you approach a different situation? How can you know, you don't have the full access to fighters. Oh, maybe you'll find someone at a gym. Let me go there quickly. So it is definitely a hustle, and to see the channel grow like that, it must definitely feel rewarding.
You know, man, it's crazy. I don't tell the story too often, so when I tell it, I really remember kind of where I came from. You know what I mean? I really remember, like, man, like I was home all day, not doing anything, not knowing what the next move was going to be, just kind of happy to be on unemployment. Thank God I was getting some kind of money. You know what I mean? Like, and I think especially now, kind of during this pandemic time, right? I think about people who are finally have the opportunity. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I can finally start the YouTube channel. I can finally kind of get around to the things I wanted to get around to, type of thing, especially with YouTube. And I'm struggling like a lot of people are struggling on YouTube right now, you know? And it's frustrating, but telling you the story even now, I realize, like, wow, like I'm not where I was. You know what I mean? Like I remember my first like $5.86 that I got. You know, like when I finally got to like $5.86, I remember thinking like, oh man, I could go to In-N-Out now. You know what I mean? Like I was happy about that. Like I still remember that feeling. And
that's so awesome.
So now it's crazy, man. Thinking about it now, I kind of get down on myself because, you know, the numbers aren't good and just there's no content. It's not there's no content. It's just
limited, very limited.
It's not the way it was before, where it was, you know, I could go to gyms, and even if I was doing it on my own, I'd go to gyms. Like I'd have no problem working hard, but you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like you're putting fights in danger. You know, you're putting those guys' livelihoods in danger, because if they get sick and they can't fight for whoever knows how long, that's money out of their pocket. You know what I mean? So it's humbling, you know, kind of, because I feel like I'm knocked down again. But I realize when I tell the story, it's like, wow, like I really am, you know, kind of. I 58,000 followers. You know, that's crazy. I think about that now, and it's like, wow, I can't believe that I have that following. You know.
It is crazy, man, honestly. And yeah, I completely agree with you. And you know what I was going to say? As a creator, it's very easy to get down and hard on yourself. Very easy. especially for someone who's passionate like yourself. I've had it plenty of times within the time that's lockdown's begun, and I've had it ever since I started on this route. Right, every time I have to sort of sit back and be like, wait, man, look at this board. I put all the numbers down. I'm like, hey, I've achieved that now. Okay, rub it. You've rubbed that number out and you've put a new number on. So it's all about. Sometimes we forget that we have to love the process, and even the process can sort of knock us down and give us less opportunities, but it's still the process to the next goal. Still it's life. That's a part and parcel of life that a lot of people, I was actually listening to something about this today. People don't realize the process is so important, because you're gonna have those immense numbers one week or one day, that interview that does amazing, or your follower might have grown by 2,000 in a week, crazy. But the process is this part, the down and dirty, grinding my ass off. Fuck, I'm not doing anything. What's the next move? That's the process.
Yeah, no, bro, you said it 100% right, bro. You exactly what you said, and it's good that you kind of already have that. I
have 400 subscribers. Yeah. I have to.
Bro, it took me to get 400 subscribers.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
Bro, it took forever, dude. You did it like at least 3 times faster than I did, like easily. Like and so like, and your content's good. Like, and I think that's why I try to tell you that. And I'll be honest with you. Like, if ever something I'm kind of like, like that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
about
you're
that.
real.
Your haircut, I don't know about that. Your
fuck you, fuck you right now. Right, yo. You know how much, yo. You know what? I've said this on Instagram today, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm rocking this effed up haircut with pride. Pride. Confidence. I might not be getting any chicks. My DMs may be dry, but it doesn't matter.
No one's getting any chicks, bro. It's COVID, bro.
It's COVID season. Right, yeah, if you are, then you're just ultimately good looking. But, the trim is absolutely tragic. It's gonna get fixed in a few weeks.
I'll fuck with you. You gotta fade that up a little bit right there. You just gotta,
I don't know.
You have to clip.
I was so close to going bald yesterday. I was just gonna go, but I spoke to my barber. He's opening up on the 4th of July, and we're gonna get a fresh trim for the 4th of July. It's gonna be super lit.
No, man. Yeah. So your stuff's good, man. You're moving fast, and but you're right though. You're right. It's the process. Like I remember watching Kobe Bryant's memorial, and one of the quotes he said, and one of the little montages they had, is he said exactly that. He was like, you have to love the process. Like, once all the dreams that you have and everything you have, like, once you kind of get there, you realize that you end up having more dreams and more goals, and when you look back, it's the part that you really enjoy is the process. You like it is the working hard. It's the like success doesn't have an elevator. It's you got to take the stairs. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, you have to take the stairs, and it's hard, bro. It's hard because I've been down on myself too, man. I was editing for like 6 hours on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And wow. And I still haven't even put out the content, like, because it's I'm still kind of not sure if I really like it that much, like, but you're right. It took me a whole day to kind of realize, like, damn, like, you worked hard yesterday. Like, don't kind of be mad at yourself because you didn't release it yet, or because whatever, like it's. But you're right. But it's when I think back on it now, it's like, damn, I learned a lot doing that. You know what I mean? And to where the next one won't be as hard. It's not going to take 6 hours, and maybe it'll take 4 hours. You know what I mean? And
I think we're answering the question, though. I think I'd even asked this question, but we've led on to the point is like, what's people's definition of success sometimes is errored. Of course, success is like I mentioned, the top of the game when you've done a good number, but the success is really defined by what you put in, right? You put in that work to be successful. So I think the way that 6 hours that you did, even though it took that long for you to do that, that's success. You did it. You completed those 6 hours. You've completed a piece. It's waiting now. And when you go back to it and edit it a little bit more, that's going to be successful as well.
You're right, man.
It's layers of success. There's different definitions of it. Of course, another type of success is when you put it out. How well is it going to do? But again, you can't get down about it. You look back and you're like, fuck, I did this though.
Yeah. No, you're totally right, man. Like my first, if you go back to my first videos, and I don't erase them because when I look at them, it reminds me, but my first videos were on a phone, like straight up and down, like with the two black things, the two black rectangles on the side. And my questions were full of ums. Like poor Brandon Rios, man. I feel bad for him.
Okay.
Like he basically like repeated the same interview before me.
Wow.
Because I was like, oh, like what do I really talk to him about? And everyone, by that time, everyone kind of asked everything anyway, right? But man, to see where I've come from since then, it's you're right. It's the process, man. I look back on those days and I laugh because that's crazy that was me, and to see where I am now, where I can be like next to Canelo and Triple G, and
you're you're like the Mexican go-to for a lot of people on the West Coast. I see you have a strong Mexican following. Very strong. I do. They love it. They don't care if you upload Tyson Fury. Forget that. They want to see Canelo. They don't really care.
It's true, bro. It's true. And anything Canelo or Triple G related does well on my channel. I really started hitting a good peak right around both of their ascensions. And so I was blessed that, shout out to Bernie. He was Triple G's publicist back in the day, and for whatever reason, he just kind of liked me. I think he just saw that I was at everything, you know what I mean? And he would give me access to Triple G, like credentials to Triple G, like in all honesty, way before I probably should have had it. You know what I mean? Like I remember being like, this was like first try type of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'd send it in and I'm like, oh wow, like I got it. And even that was still like maybe 2 years after I had been in the game already. But even then, the numbers were like pedestrian enough to where I really shouldn't be getting Triple G, But I was blessed to get them, man, and it's been a blessing, the road,
Yeah, for sure, man. The road led you to meeting this beautiful specimen from Sheffield, UK. In Fuad Abdulaziz. Oh god damn, son. He is a stunner.
You're talking about my boo Tanya Morgan.
No, we're talking about me. Ooh, let's drop that again. Let's drop that sound effect. Me, okay? Me. Bro, you know what?
It's louder. That needs to be louder.
Can we put it louder? No. See, my mic is gonna be putting it on.
There you go. That's all better.
Felt that boosh. Yeah, man. Obviously, we've. It's funny. I'd say we're pretty close, but we've only met twice. Yeah. It's mad.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So many, like, actually, we've only like met twice, but we've got some fucking crazy stories as well. Shit. Man. But we'll get to that. Let's start off when we first met each other. Imagine, right? I've never spoken to this guy. I'm sharing a hotel room with you. Shit. Saudi Arabia. That fight right there. Joshua versus Ruiz 2. That event really made me like, every time I go to America, I always step back. I'm like, whoa, I'm in the States. I'm covering a fight in the States, so it's big for me. Same it would be with you if you came over here. When we were in Saudi, I was like, wow. Every single experience, every single day was just next level.
It really was, man. It was just the fact that we were in Saudi Arabia, it was just like it had that aura of like the Thriller in Manila, like you know what I mean, like the Rumble in the Jungle. I think it was even like on the ring did like the Rumble in the Jungle, like the mimic of like the old poster budgets.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So it really had kind of that hype, that feel about it, because we were
historic.
It was really just an historic event, is really what it was, and it was just incredible, bro. Like I didn't know what to expect at all. Like I had people come up to me in Germany when I was waiting that like rarely talked to me, that all of a sudden were like, "Hey, how you doing?" It was real, like, cool, like a familiar face,
Yeah.
I understood. I was kind of the same, like, oh man, cool, like somebody I know, But it was historic, man. It was just the being there, and like you said, just for the first day, taking it all in was really like, wow, like I'm here, like I'm actually in Saudi Arabia. The looks we were getting, all that stuff.
I wasn't getting look. A lot of people thought I was a freaking local, so they were like, bro, remember, the press conference.
Well, we were getting looks more because of Phelps.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. When we were with her, when we were with Michelle, it was like it was completely different. We were like, everyone was like, because obviously they've just changed the rules in Saudi Arabia where women are allowed to do certain things, go out with their face shown, and not wear their full hijab. And obviously Michelle, when she's got her makeup on and she's just like, she was respectful though. She didn't like, she wasn't wearing like westernized clothes. She was still respecting the code. But it was crazy to see like from a woman's perspective, because us men, we never really feel that or experience that. But with her, we were like, oh shit, oh my god, it was it was beyond weird. It was crazy. But they were very respectful. But they were more skeptical of the whole situation. Like they're not getting used to it, but they were respectful. No one gave
for sure
dirty looks. No one was like, what the fuck? Like, no one was angry about it. Everyone was just like,
Yeah, no, it was the media, at least here in America, really had you kind of like on edge. Like I was on edge before going, just kind of like it was kind of like what did one of the trainers said something like enter at your own risk. Like that's what like the government says about it or something. Yeah. But just being there, the people were like overly nice sometimes. You know what I mean? Was just
very
like,
nice, very
what,
nice.
Like way like overly like that taxi that had to come get us, that had to like go through all these like road stops, and it's not. And I think that was kind of part of the crazy realization of it as well, was like you were not home. Like this was not home. Like there is not a Uber location for everything. There is not like the stadium itself wasn't there.
The stadium itself wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't even. It wasn't even in the city. Like it was in the middle of a desert. It was in the desert. Crazy.
Literally in the desert. And it didn't exist. What like?
It was
10,
sand dunes.
15 weeks before that, or something like that. Like
it was sand dunes. It was just sand. That's why it says Clash on the Dunes. It actually was on the dunes. Like it's crazy. And the whole setup was incredible. To say they did that in 10 weeks. Boy, okay. What the hell are you using?
I remember everyone stomping on the thing.
Oh my god!
Whoa, everybody!
Me and Stephen was like, stop. They were fully stomping, like just chant, clap, and do anything. These guys were on it. Like I'm like, yo, what the fuck? This is gonna break.
It was, man. But no, man, that first chicken meal we had, when I landed and we just kind of changed and went out. That was one of the best meals I've had.
No.
You had something different than I had, though.
No, hold on. Steven, you're missing it, brother. You're missing it. If I don't know why that meal's come into your head. What about when we went to our brother Muta Beal's restaurant?
Oh my god.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that was one of the best meals I've had in my life, period.
Really?
Oh, bro, the freaking what was it? What was it? What's the meat thing? What's it called? The on the bone.
Ribs?
The ribs were so tender. They were thick. They were massive, and they were huge.
Bro, like no exaggeration, it was like this big. Like it was like a good 9 inches long. Like it was, yeah.
And the meat would just fall off it. It's like, whoa.
Oh man,
it was tender.
That was a great meal. No, that meal was great. For whatever reason, I don't know, that first chicken meal is still like, I would say that was the best meal of the trip for me, was that one. Just because I loved, like I guess I don't have like Mediterranean food is what we call it over here, like kebabs and stuff like that. Like I don't have that too often in here, and I really like it. So I guess kind of being there and the whole like ambiance of everything, and it was like my first meal. I was starving because I had some like crappy like German breakfast at the airport. So I was like, but so that chicken meal for me was it. But that barbecue place, that whole experience of the barbecue, that whole thing like worked out incredibly well. Those people were, well, what's his name again? I'm sorry, Muta. Yeah. He's like he's like the nicest person I think I met on that whole trip. Like, besides you, obviously. But as far as like nice, like he was just like one of the most welcoming people.
Very
like,
humble.
Very helpful. Like, remember we were gonna go to the mall to go shopping, and then he was like, no, it's right here. and he just set us up. Like, it was incredible. That guy's hospitality was, I aspire to be like that, you know.
And you know what surprised me more is I just thought, the guy's, just another, citizen. We find out he's part of the Outlaws. What the hell? We're there casually, right? Me and Stephen are trying to buy the clothing, the jubba for the event. We want a fresh one, so we're panicking. Where's the next place? Some guy comes up to us. He's like, "Yo, there's a place there." We have no idea who this guy is. So we're like, "Oh, thank you, mate. Who are you?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I own this place." I was like, "Oh, okay." Then he goes, "You're with Michelle?" I was like, Yeah. So we're thinking this is a nice dude. Yeah, he's calm. Very nice. Sit down. David Diamante is having the meal with us. He goes, "So, when you used to make music back in the day," and I went, "Music? What? Who are you?" And then he went, Tupac and I was like, wait, Tupac, what?
That that was that. You know what strikes me about him more? What I remember more about him was kind of like the transformation into Islam that he
That's
told
what I was
us
getting
about,
into.
like,
Yeah,
that whole story. Like, especially when kind of tying it to the music, like you said, he looked at me, and I remember he was like, "Bro," he's like, when I was writing my lyrics, I remember thinking, I want people to think the devil wrote this. He's like, that's how dark I was. He was like, I just wanted people to be like, oh man, like the devil. Like, he was like, I wanted, like, that's what I wanted people to think. And he's like, I was in a dark place. And then he talked about kind of when he started to change, and then just kind of when he moved to Saudi, and he that story talked about with his neighbor, that he had to like leave for a while, and then he went to his neighbor's house, and the neighbor's not there. The neighbor has the key to the house, and so he goes up to his place, and he realizes like, oh man, someone's in here. So he kind of bursts in there, and the neighbors were there cleaning, or had just cleaned the place, and were cooking him dinner because they knew he was like coming home. And his face of, like, even that story is like, for me, like, it was like shock, like, what? They like cleaned your place and like were there and just to cook you a meal, just to welcome you back home.
Yeah.
Like, and just some of the stories he told about that, and how he got into Islam, was just that's really kind of what I took a lot from that experience. Was like, wow, that's beautiful that he got to that point. And there were things about Islam that I didn't even know that he kind of educated me on, that I was like, wow, like I had no idea,
Yeah, he was very approachable as well. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just restart this. Yeah, this one out. Yeah, he was. Yeah. So and it, once I found out about his career in music and what he was telling us about writing those lyrics, I went back and I looked up the Outlaws and tried to spot him in the music videos, and I'm like, wow. Have you not seen it?
I haven't looked.
It's like proper. It's proper. Rap, gangster, fucking proper real music. And
I know the Outlaws. But you were able to see him in the music videos?
Yeah. Really? Just swag. Just like completely different guy, and I'm like, wow. It's just
I gotta watch that.
It's like I think I'm like, wow, Islam can really change someone's life. Like, it's not just Islam, like religion, belief in something. Right. I feel like that could have a major effect on someone, and it clearly has it on him. And wow, man, the guy that was one of the experiences I took from that as well. And what else in Saudi?
One of the cooler experiences of the trip, without a doubt.
And what about when we burst our lungs in the shisha lounges? Jeez, 4 hours straight. Man. 4 hours.
Was rough.
What were we doing? We were like alcoholics, but on the shisha. 4 hours straight, non-stop.
I think also, like, well, weren't we sitting down for a good hour and 20 minutes before the thing even came? Or we started...
that was the second time. That was the second time. Remember the second time they couldn't...
Oh, that's right.
They didn't bring our pipe for like an hour, and we were just getting aggy. We're like, we want our pipe. But yeah, man, the whole experience
was over an hour. It was like... That was a little crazy how... that aspect, because I guess I've had that here occasionally, but it seemed like we weren't the only ones that weren't.
I think they had a really bad off day, because we went the day before, 2 days before, and they were pretty cool.
True, and it was really good. Yeah, it was top. It was top
notch quality.
Top notch, yeah. But no, the shisha was fun, man. I had never done hookah before. That whole place was really cool. Remember how they did like the lights with the water with the lights and all that stuff? That's the first time I had Randy's Donuts. That's in Inglewood, California, but I had it in Saudi Arabia for the first time.
I missed out. I went and got a Cinnabon that was like 1,900 calories. Oh my god, that shit fills you up quick. That shit's like,
oh my god, bro, that's a meal.
fully like. I felt so fat after that. It was crazy. Randy's Donut.
Remember having to get the tickets to go into that place?
Oh my god, what a hassle! And we were trying to find Raheem and all them lot. It was like fucking.
That was the second time. But even the first time. Oh, the first time we did okay. We found someone that. But even then, we had to log on to someone's hotspot.
Oh yeah, that was.
Remember? And then like, but thank God, like. Thank God people spoke English. People were helpful,
willing to be helpful.
Yeah, like just like would go out of their way to try to help you. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm at this job and oh, sorry guy, just figure it out. Like
you get that a lot in our countries, in America and the UK.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, it's just real like, oh, I don't know, bro. Sorry, like figure it out, you know. But these guys were like, when one guy went away, and I was like, damn, he's not gonna. He's the one that came back with the jetpack and was like, oh, here, log on to this, do this, and it was like, oh wow, cool, like. And the second time was even worse with Raheem and them and Frank the Tank, but it was more just because we couldn't find them. And the second time was worse too, right? Because my phone didn't work that time for whatever reason, and that's the one we used the first time around. And luckily Frank's did, but it's funny because at the time it's like nerve wracking, right? Like those things, but looking back on it now, like I smile and think about it. It's like that's what happens when you travel. Like that's what happens when you are becoming a citizen of the world, so to speak. Like you get into issues where people don't speak the language and you're using your hands and eye contact and kind of all these other cues to communicate with somebody and you figure it out. We went twice.
Yeah,
what I mean.
It was insane, man. Like when you say it like that, like obviously, like I remember when we got to the hotel and we were trying to speak to the hotel guy, he couldn't speak to it. The guy at the front desk, we couldn't speak English, and we were just like, room, us, check in,
right?
Check in, and those experiences like at the time they're really frustrating. I remember me and Michelle were just getting aggy. We're just like, fucking Google Translate's not working, no. But it's like, good times. Well, at that time as well, like we were out there for work as well. It wasn't just travel, so it was like everything was always on edge and numbers and YouTube.
Yeah, it was incredible. That was another thing about it was that that was like the icing on the cake. It was like, wow, I'm in Saudi Arabia and I'm covering like the biggest fight of the year at this point. You know what I mean? It was the biggest fight of the year. I mean, it didn't necessarily was the best fight of the year, but it was the most anticipated fight of the year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was the most anticipated event for a long time because
since Wilder Fury. Since Wilder Fury won, that was the next anticipated fight, that big.
And even Wilder Fury 1, that happened in Los Angeles. Like that was, it wasn't like a locale like that. You know what I mean? So no, man, the doing the fight stuff was kind of fun too.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun.
The setup was crazy. The little building they set up for us, go into the arena, on the coaches, you had to get there in time to the fighter hotel, and it was fun, man. And weigh-in day, freaking free food as per put out everywhere. It was fun. But when people mention Saudi, one of the strong memories comes to my head is when I'm somewhere in the world. It doesn't matter if when I was in LA or New York or even here in this country, but when I'm somewhere in the world, I always find myself in a spot where I'm like, shit, this is just a random spot. Who would have thought I would have come to this spot? It was the fight night, the morning when we went out walking. And I'll never forget it. I don't know why. It just felt like we were in this there was no one there. There was literally no one there. We were walking around, these furniture shops were just open and empty, and it was bizarre. It was one of the most bizarre feelings. Like, it sounds so plain. It sounds like I'm telling you a shit story. Like, oh, we were walking down this empty road. No, but it was like an empty little town. It was bizarre, man. Remember the feeling?
It was like the nuclear apocalypse happened
It was like COVID season.
And right, like, and it was just, there was, I think it's more relatable now because people may have experienced that because of COVID and being somewhere and being like, damn, where is everybody? Yeah. But it wasn't even like that necessarily, because there was nobody. It was literally like, and it looked, because, and this is how you know they don't have a theft problem, like all this furniture was just out, like out, carpets, rolls of carpet out, different fountains and things like that. It looked, that's what I mean by it looked like the apocalypse, because it looked like just everyone was gone and left their stuff. Yeah. Like everyone was gone and didn't know they were going to be gone. Like, but that's how like desolate it was. And it was so random, these little, like, the thing as well, it wasn't like, it was obviously in the city, but it was away from the concentrated part of the city, you could say. Right. Like where all the big buildings, corporate stuff are, the main shops. It was just this long road of nothingness, but buildings that are just empty. And then you'll see occasionally you see a person walk around this corner, and then there's this random shop open. Bro, remember the shop we went into? There was like all these shops closed in this alleyway, and there's one shop. And it was just, it was a gift shop. I was like, who's buying shit from here? It was so. And then we found that bazaar, and actually that shop had a customer. Remember? Yeah. So and she looked like a foreigner as well. I was like, how did you find this? Who are you? It was bizarre. We found it because we went to the mall that morning, and then we wanted to go for a walk, see what was down there, and it was it was strange. We wanted like that open market. Yeah, the bazaar. Yeah, that was cool. That was fun, and you could tell it was a night market because they were setting up, and it was like middle of the day. And it was just us. That was a cool thing. Yeah, and it was just us. Yeah, no, it was that. I love that trip, man. I remember after we had gotten gone shopping that next day. I think it was the weigh-in, and then I was. No, that day was the fight night. Oh, that was the day of the fight. Yeah, that's Saturday. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about the weigh-in when I remember wearing what's the jubba? What's it called? The jibba. And I remember I'd go up to people and be like, "Hey, what's up?" That I knew from like here, and they're like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, wow, it's you." Like that. I got that a lot too. I got a lot of people talking to me in Arabic, like right off the bat, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, bro." Like, you know. Let me tell you one thing about Arabs. Like, I'm going back to what we were kind of going to, but we moved away from, and you mentioned it now. When people thinking that we were Arabs, Arabs are mean to each other, bro. They're like, so let me put an example to you. If I don't know you and like, you know, we're working and like, what the fuck are you doing? Move out my fucking way, bro. What are you doing, man? You're in the way, Stephen. Get out my fucking way. So that is how they actually speak to each other. And this dude came up to me at the media event and he was like, I was like, I don't understand what you're saying, bro. I'm from the UK. He goes, oh, English. I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, okay, no problem. I was like, shit. And then he was cool. I was like, shit. Then. Yeah, that's the one. That was the only way to get away from like angry Arabs. Just say, yeah, we're not from here. They're like, oh, okay, no problem, my friend. I actually did it. People talk to me. Not angrily, I guess. I didn't have that, but they just kind of. I just have an annoying face, so people don't. You know, fuck this guy, man. They were like, nah, this guy's the problem right here. Yeah, I don't know. See, they saw my haircut, bro, and they were like, maybe I should have messed with this certain Arab right here. That Sonic the Hedgehog haircut that never fails to impress, man. I fucking love it. You pull it off really good though. You pull it off really good. But yeah, man. So I hope God willing, we have a lot more of those trips because it was super fun, man. Honestly, like it was everything about it. I'll never forget about it. It will always stay with the dome. That's why. Yeah, it was a beautiful trip, man. And thank God for both of us. It became profitable too. Like because it was that was one thing I was worried about. Like that. I ended up paying an extra $300 to fly over there because I messed up on the date returning. That was my fault. But man, like I think once our videos, like a few of the videos did well, I think kind of the stress relieved off of all of us, and we just kind of really enjoyed it. Really just like took it all in and really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful trip, man. I'll never forget it. And that's crazy to think that was the first time I met you, because I feel like we already kind of knew each other prior to that.
Well, we knew each other through social media. Like, we hadn't spoke, but because we both, like, obviously I'm working with Behind the Gloves, and you come in and do your bits as well. We'd see each other's names, and we're like, oh, it's that guy from the UK. I'm like, oh, it's that guy from the KO guy. Never really knew.
KO guy.
We didn't even follow each other. I don't think we just.
I don't think so. Yeah, you're right.
And Michelle just went, "Yep, you two, it don't even go." And I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? He could be a weird dude, and you're just like, I'm to sleep with him." But no, it was crazy because within like the first few days, it was one of those things where when you can click with someone, you're like, "All right, cool, this guy's cool," and we just it was just the vibe checked. The vibe check was passed.
Oh yeah, for sure, bro, for sure. No, it was one of the most amazing trips that I've had.
We might be having one soon if Joshua and Fury gets placed in Kuwait. Not Kuwait, sorry, Bahrain. Bahrain is the chosen place to take that fight. MTK obviously have links over there in Bahrain. Bahrain is a lot more lenient than Saudi Arabia, from what I know. It's trying to become like the next Dubai, I think. So it's trying to be, the westernized Middle East country, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think they're setting up for for the big fight, man, for Joshua Fury out in another Arabian country. Jeez.
Do you really think that fight's gonna happen?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's happening. There's too much money to make not to be made. Like, with big fights in boxing, for example, I always use this one, Khan Brook. Of course, there was mega money to be made, but it passed. People cared about it and then didn't care about it. Joshua Fury has, mate.
Oh no!
I have no words.
Right. No, you're. I guess for me, I just don't believe it at this point. I feel like there's way too much that needs to fall into place for that to happen, or for me to maybe just for me to get excited about it. Because I'll be honest. Like when I first heard the news of it, I was like, that's cool in theory. Yeah. Like, and if they were to fight, that'd be an interesting fight. And of course, if it's in Saudi Arabia and just kind of like obviously, if it were to happen, that would be massive. If everything were to fall into place. But I guess for me, that if is like too big for me to even really. I haven't even really considered it.
It's the boxing fan syndrome, isn't it? It's like, just fucking first confirm it, and then I'll be all right.
Right, it's exactly, bro. It's just kind of one of those I just kind of like Spence Crawford. Like I tend to kind of push these fights like out of my mind, I guess, to a certain extent, until it's like, oh, this might actually happen, because I feel like I'm I guess maybe as a younger boxing fan, I did that to myself a lot, and then all these fights wouldn't happen. Like Casamayor Mayweather never happened. De La Hoya Trinidad 2 never happened. Like, I mean, that one we saw once, but I wanted to see it again. You know what I mean? But like, I guess all these fights throughout history that I feel like Mayweather Constantzu would have been a great fight at 140. I mean?
I feel like
so I guess I think I've used a lot of mental space on that to where I'm a little like, I don't know, maybe this.
No, I know. I get what you mean. I completely agree with you. I was on the same wavelength as you, but I feel like for this fight, even if it doesn't happen for like March or April next year, because obviously they've got mandatories and whatnot to get out the way, it's gonna happen because it's too huge not to. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, even if they don't want to fight, their promoters will be like, "Shut up, get in the fucking ring," because this is money. Like, honestly, if they don't fight, then they're missing out on the world's money. And it's a fair fight. Like, if you lose, you've lost to the other great fighter of the era. You can do it again, and there'll be more money. Like, it's there for the taking, bro. And I can't wait.
Do you? So I guess being that you're seem pretty confident that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So are you kind of you don't see Usyk as a challenge for Joshua or Pulev? Well, I mean, I think most people don't see Pulev.
Pulev, no.
I think undersight. I feel like that's an oversight. I'm sorry. Is kind of people looking over Pulev because People looked over Andy Ruiz, and he got it done. You know what I mean? Pulev's different, obviously, but you think so? You think Joshua runs through Pulev and Usyk?
Pulev, like, I'm sorry, I'm respectful towards fighters, right? And your argument is fair. Andy Ruiz did it. Let me tell you about Andy Ruiz. When that fight got announced, I didn't know much about Andy Ruiz, but once I did my research on him, do you know what? Go back to the behind the gloves announcement of me announcing that Ruiz was going to be Joshua's opponent. I said Ruiz fights in a certain way that is very dangerous to Joshua. I said if Joshua doesn't come in proper, then we could be in for a freaking shock. And even though I said that I expected Joshua to win, shit happened. But I was like highly nervous for that because I was like, nah. The way Ruiz is handling these guys who have similar frame to Joshua, I can see something happening, but most likely not. It happened. When it comes to Pulev, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. Look, you cannot be fighting like this, right? You cannot be. This is my fighter glass now. I'm going to show you.
I love those glasses, by the way. Where did you get them?
I don't know. I think they're my little brother's, but I've hijacked
them. I was going to say, did you take them for your little brother?
I'm keeping them. I wear them in my videos sometimes. These are the visionary glasses. The visionary glasses. So I'm visioning the fight for you, bro. Pulev, he fights like this, right? Like he has his chin in the air, and he's like trying to play it along. Like, you're small compared to Joshua. You're not massive. I don't think the same height. I think he's a bit shorter. So a prime example is when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, and in that fight, we saw him get sparked. Vladimir Klitschko is always compared to Joshua, not as in similar, but the frame is quite similar. Mm-hmm. They box in a certain way, a bit different, but they've got the basics unlocked.
Stand tall,
bam, straight down the middle like that, right? Joshua will catch him. It could be over within 3. And Pulev is old. Like, no disrespect, Pulev. I will give you every chance in this fight, but I'm going to speak my opinion, and I don't think you're going to win the fight. But straight up. Right. Alexander Usyk.
I agree with you on that one. I don't believe he's going to win the fight. What would I be supremely shocked? Not really.
If he beat Joshua?
If he closed his eyes and threw a left hook and landed on Joshua's mouth.
Well, that could happen in any fight.
It could. That's what I'm saying. But I feel like if Pulev were to do the same thing to, say, Fury, I wouldn't expect the same result. If Pulev were to do that to maybe even Deontay Wilder, I wouldn't expect the same result.
Are you saying that Joshua has no chin?
I am not saying that. I am saying that he has the weaker of the 3 chins. I will say that. Of Joshua, Fury, and Wilder. You're
gonna make me put up an argument here, aren't you? I hate arguing with you about these heavyweights.
You would say Joshua has a better chin than both Fury and Wilder?
Okay, I'm not saying that. Let me say what I want to say, right?
That's what I'm saying, though.
Hold on. Let me say what I gotta say, and then I'll let you take over. Anthony Joshua was rocked and dropped by Vladimir Klitschko, who is known to drop people, has also dropped Deontay Wilder in sparring, wearing 18-ounce gloves and a head guard. He dropped him.
The rumor.
Even a rumor, but he's known for his punching power. Anthony Joshua in that fight, bearing in mind this guy has not as much experience compared to the other 2 we're talking about, and I like all 3 heavyweights. I feel like people don't respect Joshua as they should, right? He in the 6th or 7th round he was fatigued AF as fuck. So when you land, Stephen, if me and you have a little spar, right? if me and you have a little spar and you get tired around the 6th round, if I land one like this, you're going down. Even though you're stronger than me, you're going down, okay? It's gonna happen. I'm a mouse compared to you, but it's gonna happen. But and the Ruiz one, he landed right there. Temple shot. Hard to recover. Joshua, bear in mind, it was his fault because he engaged when he didn't have to. Yep. Now, Tyson Fury has been dropped by Steve Cunningham, a cruiserweight, essentially. Dropped by Deontay Wilder, no shame in that. Deontay dropped everyone ever, including my dad. He drops everyone. That's cool. Deontay Wilder has
Wilder. That's a podcast right there.
My dad spotted Wilder. He actually stopped him in the 12th round. He just got dropped. Even Deontay Wilder's chin. I'd say Deontay Wilder's chin. it is. You've got to give him respect because he's shown the strength of his chin, but he can be touched. He can be touched. You know.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I think you started you went down, you took a left turn from the question that I asked you, which was, do you think that Joshua's chin is better than Fury?
I think it's the same as Fury's.
The same as Fury?
Mm-hmm.
You think AJ would get up from those shots that Wilder hit Tyson with in the first fight?
I don't know because AJ wasn't in the ring with him.
Wow!
I don't know. No.
This is the clip. This is the clip for your podcast right here.
I'll tell you.
Super bold statement.
It's an unknown, right? It's an unknown. But I'm just the only thing I'm actually defending before I start. I start waffling, as you know. I talk a lot of shit. But all I was trying to say is waffling. All I was trying to say is, when people say Anthony Joshua hasn't got a chin, just look at when he got dropped and how he got dropped, what situation it was. So it can't really be, he's got a glass chin. I don't agree with that. But obviously, from facts, you can say that Fury, he's got up and he's recovered better in those situations for sure.
I want to put on the record here. Everyone go back on this podcast. I never said that Anthony Joshua has a glass chin. I never said that. All I said was that I wouldn't be surprised if Pulev closed his eyes, threw a left hook, and landed right on Anthony's jaw. And if that had a big outcome of what happens in the fight, whether maybe it's just a knockdown, maybe who knows? But I'm saying I do think if Pulev were to fight Fury or Wilder, I wouldn't have that same kind of what's going to happen if Pulev touches Wilder or touches Fury with a solid shot. Maybe he'd rock him a little bit, but I feel that Joshua might take that, and who knows? I could, maybe I'm overestimating Pulev's power. I really don't know how many knockouts he has, if he's even capable, something like that. I mean, realistically, Andy Ruiz's hands are very fast, and he's a big dude, and he can crack. So I mean all those factors are obviously why Joshua.
What happens when Andy Ruiz gets in with Deontay Wilder?
Man, I don't know, bro. Oh, that's another thing. So you're saying that Fury would beat Wilder for sure in the third match to make the Fury Joshua fight?
Okay, let me. You want my opinion?
And then I'll go back and then I'll answer your question. But I didn't want to leave that.
I'm not gonna pussyfoot around the question. I just want to put it on record. I like all the heavyweights. I don't actually, I don't dislike the heavyweights. But when it comes to facts, right? When it comes to facts, Tyson Fury has won every single round in the first and second fight, bar one round. He's lost one round against Deontay Wilder in 2 fights. Are you joking? Are you joking? How am I not gonna get? And one more thing about Deontay Wilder, if he doesn't switch up a certain style of his, which is he finds it very difficult to fight backwards. We've seen it not with just Fury, with Luis Ortiz, and even with what's the other dude's name? The guy that boxed Joshua as well, not Brazil. He knocked Brazil out.
The guy that boxed Joshua. You're talking about somebody who hurt Wilder?
Yeah, he hurt Wilder. Molina hurt Wilder. Eric Molina.
Oh, Eric Molina. Yeah.
When you push Wilder back, he finds it difficult. So
that seemed to be the case in
what do you think? Fury's probably gonna run across the ring even faster than the first time and just go all out. It's hard.
Motorboat him? Why is he motorboating Wilder?
Well, that's a question we definitely gotta ask Tyson. Is he gonna motorboat?
Why? Fawad thinks the first thing you're gonna do is motorboat the crap out of Wilder as soon as in the first round.
He might punch me. I'm scared of Fury.
Okay, so to go back to your question as far as who wins between Ruiz and Wilder, it really kind of it doesn't really depend. I'd say they fought now, right, or they were to fight next. That's a good fight, man. That's a really good fight. It obviously, I think probably the biggest question mark, unfortunately, is that we kind of have to ask ourselves going into that possible matchup is is will Andy Ruiz be like in, fighting championship shape the way he was, against Joshua the first time. Now, just because he wasn't the second time around, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's just who he is, right? Because he was obviously in shape the first time, so he can get in shape. But if we're talking like best on best, like, Andy Ruiz at his best and Wilder at his best, man, that's a great question. Andy Ruiz's fast hands are going to be problems for a lot of heavyweights.
Especially Deontay, though, man. What's
kind of keeps people on the outside, and Andy gets in.
And how do you beat Deontay? By backing him up. What does Ruiz do? Come forward.
He comes forward
relentlessly as well.
True. Yeah, and he has a good chin. So I mean, not to say obviously Wilder can knock out or hurt anybody, but and I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe Andy had to go through some fire like that, like getting rocked or maybe even dropped or something like that. But
it's a good fight.
It really is. It's a great fight. I think, man, PBC was, Al Heyman had all 4 belts for a while.
For a few months.
I mean? Like PBC had all 4 belts. Like, and imagine Andy ends up beating Joshua, and then PBC controls the heavyweight division like that. Like that would have happened for sure.
We wouldn't have seen Fury Wilder too.
No.
No, because going to the undisputed fight, the fuck.
Like Andy Ruiz, who's like Mexican American, Deontay Wilder, who's African American, like that. Like, and these are like probably the 2 cultures that drive boxing the most here in America. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
To have like, and they both like each other, so like it would have been a lot of like, kind of like. It would have been like, all right, like not necessarily the banter that Fury and Wilder have, because they're, Fury's very funny. You know what I mean? Fury's very naturally funny, and whatever, you could tell they really like each other. But that build up, all of that would have been beautiful, man. I hope we end up still getting that fight at some point.
I think we will. I think we will if Wilder loses to Fury.
I could see that, but the thing is, Andy needs like a few more fights. Regardless, like Andy needs to fight. Andy probably should fight Chris Arreola here in LA as his next fight. Chris Arreola was just in that fight with Adam Kalnaki, yeah, and they set the record, right, for like most punches thrown in a heavyweight fight. So Chris Arreola is obviously like that's just a good I think Chris Arreola is even on record of saying that Andy Ruiz took his dream from him, becoming the first Mexican heavyweight champ and all that. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a narrative there. I'm sure they know each other, having both kind of been here in California for so long and all that. And they're both kind of funny guys. Like Chris Arreola is very funny, very quick-witted. Like that promotion would be amazing. Yeah. Hopefully it happens when we can actually cover it, because I would love to cover that. But Andy Ruiz needs 1 or 2 more fights, and then I think he at least one, and then he kind of puts himself back in that conversation of like, all right, like let's who's like what was one of the top guys is he gonna get?
What do you think of Ruiz versus White?
I was just gonna ask you what's
WBC
next for White at this point. So
I'm hearing that. I'm a bit confused because, they're saying that they want to... I'm going to put it like... Let me just get to the fucking chase before I'm trying to figure this shit out in my head. Yeah. If Fury wants to fight Joshua next after Deontay Wilder, what they have to do is make Tyson Fury franchise champion. If you make him franchise champion, if Joshua beats him... It's not an undisputed fight, put it like that. If you make Tyson Fury franchise champion, Joshua versus Fury is no longer a undisputed fight, because Fury cannot lose the franchise championship. He actually gives it to the mandatory fighter, which is Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte will then become the WBC champion via email, and whatever happens in the Joshua... so it's fucking complicated. So I don't think...
He's going to become champion via email?
Oh, look, Stephen, I'm WBC champion of the world!
Bling! Look, what's this email from the WBC?
Imagine you're having a shit. Imagine you're having a shit, and you're like, going through TikTok, just And then you get a notification, important message for Dylan White. You are now the WBC champion. And then fucking the belt comes flying in and you're like, whoa, I'm champ. Yeah, it's beyond me. Hold on, I'm getting a knock on the door. Wait. What's good? Oh, we got tacos. Yeah.
Hey.
Oh. Hold on. Oh, okay, so this is not good enough. Sorry, thank you, but this is not Mexican-esque.
Don't talk crap about Mama's tacos.
It's very no, it's my sister who bought it. It's very Asian-fied, you know.
Oh, okay. I actually had hard-shell tacos like 2-3 days ago. Ooh, that's a good crunch, bro.
That's good.
Yeah, good stuff. What were we talking about?
White.
I forgot. Oh, Dillian White. Well, that's horrible. And unfortunately, I could definitely see it happening because that's exactly what happened with what's it called, right? With Lomachenko. That's why. Who has the WBC? Oh, Devin Haney's champ, or is he champ now again? Because then they took it away for a little bit and then gave it back, or
I don't know.
What's happening? See, this is why I understand why if you don't love boxing, it's hard to become a fan of boxing.
There's too many belts.
That's a mess, bro. So he's the champ, but they made him like extra super champ, but he can't lose the extra super champ belt.
Well, let me tell you what franchise champion is. If you want to go make more money and not lose your belt, you become franchise champion.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if the Joshua fight will happen because the whole title of the Joshua fight would be undisputed.
Undisputed. Yeah.
So maybe White gets Fury in February. We don't know.
Oh, you're saying before
Joshua.
Before AJ, yeah.
And then Joshua fight happens in like July, August next year.
Damn, that really would be like Tyson planning out like the end of his career, like he said, huh? He's like, I want to fight Wilder, White, and AJ. That was his. That's what he said. Mm. Who did he take off the list? Because it wasn't White. It was somebody else before. Was it
Chisora.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. I mean, heck, Chisora might be fighting Joshua for the world title soon if he beats Usyk.
Oh.
He becomes WBO mandatory.
But then...
By the way, Usyk's team have said that they will step aside for the Fury fight.
What?
Mm-hmm.
When did he say that?
His manager apparently spoke to someone I know in an interview, and they said they don't mind letting Joshua Fury go ahead. Because they fight for the undisputed next. You know? He's still WBO mandatory. Whoever wins that fight has to fight him.
That's interesting. That's the wrong call for him, though, because, we're talking boxing here. Who's to say that person won't just give up the belt, and now he fights, Dillian White for the vacant belt, and now he only has one. When he could fight AJ, they're going to have to put up all three belts. And this way he gets 3 of them. And then he gets the Fury fight. Like that. I mean, I understand that, hopeful logic. You know what I mean? Like, well, hopefully that whoever that is, especially if it's Fury, and Fury actually does everything it takes to get to that point, right? So like Fury beats Wilder. Fury, if he ends up having to do the mandatory with White, beats White, and then fights Joshua. And if he actually beats Joshua, why is he going to want to fight Usyk?
There's nothing left.
Like, I mean, you're like, yeah, like at that point, it's and I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, he still would fight, but I really kind of doubt if Fury goes through the gauntlet like that. I don't think we see Fury again.
Yeah, if he cleans out the division, it's kind of like.
That's his whole thing is to
unless he drops down to cruiserweight.
Wow.
Imagine.
Yeah, right. He was like a cruiserweight at like 12 years old, probably.
Probably.
He was huge.
Yeah, man. But we're getting to the final stages before we drag on. We've been conversating for a while.
The final countdown.
Gotta talk about.
You're gonna get like a music strike on your thing now because I sound exactly like it.
Damn, son, you got that voice, huh? You got that voice, man. I miss LA. I just wanna, I wanna just talk about LA. I didn't even really get to experience LA with you. The only experience I got with you was you picking me up for the goddamn hell, the hospital. Like, what the fuck? But I went out to LA living my dream. I was like, yo, Hollywood, here I come. The boy is taking over. And then shit went south, and you had to pick me up from a freaking.
You had a bird crash. A bird crashed into you. That was a bird accident. Damn.
What a strange day that was as well. Fucking hell, it was surreal, man. That's another life experience I won't forget. You picking me up from a random. Where the hell was this hospital? I don't know what it was. I don't
even know where it was at. It was like in the valley somewhere. I remember being like, "Where is this place?"
Yeah.
And it was a good little like it was kind of like towards the valley where like my best friend lived, so I kind of knew the freeways to get there for the most part, but I had never been to that hospital before. I'd never been to there before. And man, thank goodness you were all right, bro. I remember going into even before that, like you and I were kind of in communication on like when we're going to try to hang out, but I think I was doing a fight week. Yeah, Ryan Garcia was fighting.
Garcia. I wish I went to that fight. I was
hoping you might have, because then I knew we would be able to kick it for sure. But you were in LA the first time. You're not trying to work.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, if I went to that fight, my teeth wouldn't have been broken.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have enjoyed, like, you did the hikes. Like, you probably would have been too tired for that, because I ended up being a busy fight week. Like, they had that Mikey Garcia thing after Ryan's like press conference on Thursday.
I avoided everything at all.
Yeah, costs. No, that was a lot of work that week to where you wouldn't have enjoyed it. But I mean, yeah, you don't have a tooth now, but whatever, you have a story. and you got the scars, and girls like scars, so that's cool.
Yeah, well, I can't smile, bro. It's like that, innit? It's a struggle.
Just smile. Put the gold cap.
Get
like a gold cap.
I'm getting a tooth soon. We'll be all right. But the well, I'm just waiting on the dentist to let me know when I can go and get it. It's just a situation at the moment.
When it's like COVID free.
COVID free. What is LA saying COVID wise?
I think I've kind of been avoiding the news, to be honest, but I think it's I know we still have to wear masks all in California, but most stuff's open. Just like with distancing, like dine-in places are open. I don't know about just pure bars, but most restaurants here in California, like most restaurants, like have alcohol, like I'm sure over there. What else? I think Cynthia told me yesterday that nail shops are open tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, and then
get that pedicure.
Yeah, and then one of my homegirls, she got her hair done, and so those things are open. But I believe barbershops are open as well. But yeah, it's just real slow. But how's it over there?
Yeah, not too bad in terms of are
you guys still getting confusing directions over there?
All the time, bro. My man Boris is just he does his thing, but we have where today the severity of it's gone down. It's gone from stage 4 to stage 3, so we're on track. The death rate has definitely dropped. The cases is still dropping, but it's still around 1,000 per day. That's not good at all. But we're really one of the worst affected countries that just aren't taking it seriously. We are in terms of lockdown, but they're just trying to open everything. But our Premier League is back. The football is back behind closed doors.
That started already?
Yeah, it started 2 days ago.
Right. That's what I was watching yesterday. Was that when that dude had that crazy goal where
got disallowed?
He kinda, volleyed it to himself, and then that's Premier League.
Wait, what happened?
It was yesterday. It was 3-0. The game was 3-0.
Yeah. Man City versus Arsenal.
That crazy pass.
Yeah.
And then that was a crazy goal. That was one of the cooler goals I've ever seen.
Oh my god, he got memed out for that. Yeah, but so we're on that track at the moment. Boxing wise, July the 10th. Boxing returns.
What fight is it?
It's a Frank Warren show. I can't remember which one it is. My camera's run out there, so I'm gonna keep filming on this. So let me get a good angle. So Frank Warren's come back. July, 3 shows in July. Really good domestic fights. Solid domestic fights. And then Eddie comes back July 25th and August 15th. Dylan White versus Povetkin apparently is the date.
Really? Without crowds, huh? Or no? Or yes, crowds.
No crowds.
Without crowds. Wow. Is this going to be on Eddie Hearn's like crib or whatever?
Yeah, garden.
Really? That's crazy, man. Are press going to be allowed over there? Or?
No clue.
No idea, huh?
The only one I know is I'm hearing Lomachenko Lopez for the 15th of September.
August? Oh, September?
15th or 19th. Las Vegas, small crowds, possible.
Really?
So that might be your first gig back. I don't know if it will be mine. I doubt it. It'll be expensive.
I don't know though, man, because like yesterday, I don't know if you guys, did you get the ESPN fights that were yesterday?
Oh yeah, I didn't watch them. We don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't get, okay, yeah. So, basically it's kind of like it's not a club card, but it's it's kind of like just like a smaller like ESP like a ESPN Tuesday night fight type card. And but the main event got scratched because fighters were able to bring like one person, like kind of voluntary, like you need your trainer and you need your cut man. Those are like mandatory. Yeah, and his manager tested positive.
Yeah,
and that was like the optional person. And so they cut that out. They stopped doing that. So I don't know, man. I don't know if Bob Arum's going to be cool having media, someone in media, like unless by September there's some protocol as far as like if you showed an antibody test or whatever it is, you know what I mean, that you can kind of get in. But I don't see Bob Arum being cool, like with media being around fighters and, kind of hoping, you know what I mean, that one of these people doesn't test positive at some point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how they're gonna, because obviously for a fight that big, they are gonna have to do actual like more media, maybe some kind of virtual press conference or something. I would like they have to promote that. That's huge,
For sure, it's massive for sure. That will hopefully.
Hey, I have. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just saying it was a big fight.
Yeah, I have a question for you as far as boxing and UFC during this whole COVID thing is going. How do you feel about it? How do you think boxing's doing compared to UFC or like, I don't know, how like, what's your feelings on boxing coming back? And
the UFC is just a monster, bro. The UFC are just monsters, Boxing is obviously a lot more of a concentrated sport than the UFC. It has a bigger following in terms of, fighters and money sometimes. But the UFC is just a bigger brand overall. Like, they're not just that, MMA is a sport, but the UFC is a fucking machine. That's why that's why their fighters don't get paid as much. They have everything set up. They never had to worry about arenas because they've got the Apex set up, all good to go. So they're running really smoothly. And I like, the thing with the UFC is, they can put on the fights, they can put on the cards, no problem. We've got some really good fights coming up this month and next month. The island is fucking crazy. Boxing, you know what, Stephen? I've not even missed boxing, if I'm honest with you. I've not even missed.
You told me that before.
I've not even missed boxing. I'm good. But no, I think boxing are slowly. I think boxing took a bigger precaution to this whole thing because we're not one organization. We're multiple organizations, and sometimes fighters fight fighters from other organizations. So it's a lot more hectic, and it's more of a business. No, not more of a business, but there's just more headache in boxing. So I think boxing took their foot off the gas a little bit. So, it's good how they're coming back. It's nice to see Eddie putting his garden up for the ring and everything.
Yeah, that's cool.
Everyone's being creative. Obviously, the Top Rank have got their real cool setup, the bubble or hubble or whatever it's called.
The bubble, yeah.
And BT are doing it as well at the BT Sports Studio. Frank Warren is having the fights at the studio. So it's nice to see how creative they're being. But, once we're all back, there's nothing like a real life crowd, man. I don't know how I want to compare UFC to boxing. What about you?
I guess my thing about it is maybe I should have just kind of led with this, but I feel that boxing is not taking advantage of this time the way it really can. Like that first UFC fight was the first sporting event in like 2 months. Like that pay-per-view with Tony Ferguson and Gaethje, like, and the fights were great. Like that main event was incredible. Like the co-main event was like two of the greatest of all times in that division. Like that was a good fight. Like some of the undercard fights were incredible. Like, and I feel like everyone watched that, and people who maybe don't normally watch UFC didn't have anything else to do. So they were like, oh, well, there's a sporting event. I'm going crazy at home. I want to watch some live sports. Like, let's see. And there's just something inherent about a fight that I think is just kind of, people, like whenever the fight breaks out anywhere, people tend to be like, oh, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, what's that? And so they're like, like you said, that like, well, when you said boxing was missing the mark, like UFC's hitting the nail on the head. You know what I mean? They're giving fights constantly, good fights. The production's amazing.
They're a good organization. They're a monster
You're right.
That's what I was trying to get at. They're a monster, bro. We're talking about the UFC. Imagine that. It's like saying, oh, what's better, matchroom boxing or MMA? It's you're literally. That's how powerful the organization is. We're not even talking about the sport. We're talking about the organization.
Just the UFC. Yeah, it really is. Crazy.
Bellator is not back, as far as I know.
Nope.
Cage Warriors is not back, as far as I know. It's just freaking UFC. So that's how much of a monster the sport is.
You're right.
The organization is. We never say boxing versus MMA. Majority of the time we say boxing and UFC.
Right. Yeah.
That goes to show it all.
Yeah. No, I obviously I understand it's even harder now, because the reason why a lot of these matchups don't get made is because of the money isn't there. And obviously if you take out the crowd, you're taking out a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
But it's just, I really wish boxing would kind of like, like, I don't know, the test is going to be in the matchmaking right now, because you can still have good fights, maybe not necessarily like, fights that are like championship fights or whatever, because maybe those things are harder right now without the crowd. But matchmaking is going to be it's going to be a real test for matchmakers right now, to really put up entertaining fights where people are like, oh man, I'm going to keep this fight on, or who's this kid, or you know what I mean, like to really build stars at this point, because their eyes, the only eyes are on right now. They were the only two sports on right now, boxing and UFC. Well, and Premier League now, I guess.
I don't agree with you in terms of that. I think the one thing we're going to see in boxing is a lot of bullshit being cleared up by youngsters, right? These young prospects. And I'm not saying a lot of them don't want to fight each other, but some big domestic fights are going to get made, because that's the only one to get made. You cannot get Babatunde from Nigeria to come and fight, the guy who's
the guy with the 24-0 record that looks real shiny.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. You can't come and knock him out inside one round and make a big deal out of it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying in the UK, however, I don't know in the US, there is big domestic fights being planned, because that's what they got to do now. You ain't gonna if you don't. And Eddie said it. He said, I usually take too much bullshit, but now he had Dana on his podcast and goes, now it's do or die. Okay, if you don't want to fight, get to the back of the queue. Next fight. Okay, who do you want to fight? You want to fight him? This is the guy we've got. You don't want to fight him? Go back to the queue. You're missing out on your money, not us.
Yeah.
So either make this money and fight this guy like the UFC do. They say, fight this guy and this much money, or go to the back of the queue and wait for the next event.
Yeah.
That's the approach they're taking.
That's, I get it. I get, it is a crazy time and all that, but I hope that doesn't lead to, which unfortunately it seems like it has led to in the UFC, is like shortchanging fighters. Like, just because people are starving doesn't mean you really should just kind of only feed them scraps. You know what I mean? Like, and I can see it kind of, I could see that, especially if you have that kind of, all right, cool, you don't want this person, then on to the next. It's like, man, if you're offering pennies for that person, that is, a fight that you could possibly lose or something, you're taking advantage of the situation.
Yeah, that's always been the argument in the UFC, though, isn't it? Like, they don't get paid enough. They do not get paid enough. But what happens? Business wise, they make the biggest fights. all the time, consistently, year in, year out. Every single. When have we've barely complained about the UFC not making a big fight? Barely, very rarely.
I can't even. The only times those really, it's rare. You're right. It's very rare. It's very rare. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yo,
no, good point.
I'm gonna wrap this up. I think we've done about 2 hours. It was solid. It was awesome.
Cool.
It was fun. I appreciate your time, and we'll probably be doing this again once we're face to face. Hopefully, I want to do one.
Yeah, bro.
Stephen, I want to do one in LA on top of the Runyon by the view. That's my dream.
With the Hollywood sign in the background?
I don't even that could be in the background, but I'm thinking where I was stood, like where I spent a lot of the time when I was up there, is just, bro, I spent so much time on the hills just fucking looking down. That was my majority of my time. So we're gonna set up a little thing there. And we're gonna get the view background. We're just gonna talk. That's gonna be good.
I like it. Sounds awesome.
Awesome. All right,
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All the time, anytime,
This was fun.
anytime,
It was fun,
anytime,
bro. It was fun.
anytime,
Have a good
anytime.
time.